For our entire professional lives, we've been sold this one big idea about how to succeed. It's an idea so common, we barely even notice it anymore. But what if that idea is actually a trap? In this explainer, we're not just going to question it. We're going to introduce a whole new framework for thriving when things get intense.
Think about it. Work-life balance. It's the holy grail, right? It's what so many of us are chasing. But what if that very chase is what's holding us back? In a world that is always on, always changing, we're going to explore why this old model might just be the biggest trap of them all.
And that brings us to this guy, Albert Tan, the creator of this new framework. He just comes right out and challenges the whole thing with this incredibly simple but powerful idea. He says, balance is static. It's a fixed point, and in a dynamic world, you need something that can adapt. He calls it allostatic capacity.
Okay, so let's really dig into the flaw in that old model. The word balance itself, it makes you picture a perfectly still, perfectly level seesaw. But honestly, when is your life ever perfectly level? Trying to hold on to some static state is just a losing battle in the high-speed, chaotic world we actually live and work in.
Think about it. Whenever you hear advice about burnout, what is it? It's almost always about subtracting something. Take projects off your plate, meditate to calm down, step back from your responsibilities. The core message is defensive. You have to retreat from stress, lower the demands. The whole strategy is built around doing less.
But here's where everything flips. What if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if we stopped playing defense and started playing offense? What if the real goal wasn't to somehow reduce the stress in our lives, but to build our biological capacity to handle more of it? This is the huge shift from balance to capacity. And this table just lays it all out crystal clear. The old balance model is all about doing less to lower stress. But the capacity model, it flips that on its head. The goal is to handle more by increasing your biological buffer. It's not about trying to avoid the waves. It's about building a bigger boat.
And look, this isn't just some feel-good mindset hack. This is the real deal. The allostatic capacity framework is actually rooted deep in our own biology. It's based on how our bodies are literally designed to adapt and perform when the pressure's on.
So, to really get this, we need to know the difference between two biological states. The first is homeostasis. Think of this as your body's basic survival mode. It's just trying to keep everything the same, like your body temperature. But then there's allostasis. This is the biology of high performance. It's this incredible ability to find stability through change by constantly adapting to stress. That's the engine we want to tap into. Now, all this constant adapting, it isn't free. It comes at a cost, and that cost is called allostatic load. You can basically think of it as the biological wear and tear on your system. And when that load gets too high for too long, well, that's when we burn out. So the goal isn't to avoid the load, but to increase our capacity to carry it.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you build this capacity? Well, the framework gives us a super practical two-step cycle, and it's designed specifically to intentionally widen that window of stress you can handle.
The protocol itself is actually a really simple but incredibly powerful rhythm. First, you deliberately engage in high-stress activities. This is what activates your fight-or-flight system. We're talking about an intense workout, a focused deep work session, you name it. Then, and this part is absolutely crucial, you follow it with deliberate recovery. This activates your rest and digest system. The whole point is to master that rhythm between stress and recovery.
And when you start living by this cycle, it totally changes the game. It changes how you even measure your own success. The new metric isn't about avoiding stress or trying to look balanced. The new metric is simply the width of your capacity. How much can you handle?
And that brings us right back to that core idea. It's not about making life less demanding. It's about making yourself more capable. We don't shrink the challenge. We grow to meet it by increasing our own buffer.
So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. It's time to shift from a defensive crouch to an offensive stance. Your goal is to systematically, deliberately widen the window of stress you can absorb, perform within, and then recover from. That's how you go from just surviving to actually thriving in high-pressure environments.
And that just leaves us with one final, kind of provocative thought to chew on. If we stop thinking in terms of balance and start thinking in terms of capacity, we have to ask ourselves a totally new question. Not how can I do less, but what is the true limit of my capacity? And just how far can I expand it?